Hey, hey, hey! Today is my birthday. Woohoo! Yes, it is my birthday. Yeah, I know, it's National Something Day. Actually, if I remember correctly, today is actually International United Nations Day or United Nations Day, something like that. At least it used to be when I was a kid. I remember when I would look at the calendar at my birthday, it would say UN Day. So, hey. So, yes, I am 51 years old today. It's all right. I don't feel that old. Even though I've had a heart attack and nearly died back in March, I still don't feel that old. Anywho, the Daily Dope is in the air. Let's get down to it. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at The Daily Dope. This is episode 184. Amazingly enough, here in the Duct Tape Studios, it is Wednesday, October 24th. Come on in. It is Wargame Wednesday around here. And today I will actually be reviewing not only the expansion for Armageddon War, Burning Lands, from Flying Pig Games, I'm also going to take a look at and kind of review some of these extras that are available for Armageddon War and some very interesting stuff, although I have some nits to pick, well, so stay tuned for that. Kind of slow news day, although there was a really pretty interesting news piece that I'm going to get to right off the bat in just a couple of minutes. But do want to mention, if this is your first time tuning in, this is a very casual stream. I just kick back, pretty much mainly talk about tabletop gaming. Sometimes I go off on little tangents here and there, but not too often. Not lately. Not lately I haven't. So, fingers crossed. Now today I'll just probably go off on some weird rambling rant. No, I won't. Anyway, but because this is live, even though a vast majority of you folks out there watch after the fact, there is chat available. It's available on YouTube. It is not on screen. It's one of the ways I should say that kind of keeps some of the stranger commenters at bay. In fact, I remember when I was actually streaming on Twitch and YouTube, I used to get people popping up through Twitch saying, "When are you going to start talking about drugs? Because it's the Daily Dope." And it's like, no, dope as in, hey, this is the news. This is the news for today. And because I'm kind of dopey a lot of times. Anyway, but it's not on the screen, the chat, that is, but I do pay attention to it. So if you want to say hello, just want to chime in, you have a question, or maybe you want to know something about Burning Lands or some of the other Armageddon War products I'm going to take a look at today, by all means, chime in and I will respond. So let's move on to the news, because earlier this morning, Osprey Games announced that they've got a game coming next year, and it's based on Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. How about that? Pretty cool. And I've got the dope. Osprey Games is delighted to announce that we will be publishing Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, a board game of English magic. A new game set in the world of Susanna Clarke's cult classic novel, coming in June 2019. Boo, I want to see this before then. Created by renowned designers Marco Maggi, or is it Maggie? I think it's Maggi, and Francesco Nepatello. From War of the Ring, Battle of Five Armies, both of them teamed up. They did Hobbit Tales, they did Cthulhu Tales, so on and so forth. The game sees 2 to 4 players compete to become the most celebrated magician of the age, while building up the power to take on the gentleman with the thistle-down hair. First published in 2004, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell was a publishing phenomenon and has sold over 1 million copies to date. Longlisted for the Booker Award, it was adapted into the successful primetime BBC TV series starring Bertie Carvel and Eddie Marsan. Actually, I watched that and it was really good. Actually, I've read the book. Okay, I take that back. I've listened to the audio book. Really good. if you're a fan of like Neil Gaiman, definitely check this book out because it is awesome, and he's a huge fan himself. Anyway, 2 magicians shall appear in England. The first shall fear me, the second shall long to behold me. After centuries of absence, magic has returned to England, but not all are using it for good. Take on the role of an aspiring magician and start your journey down the path to greatness. Collect rare books, flip between social engagements, and impress your peers with feats of magic. Be careful to strike a balance between your studies and your status, for the gentleman with the thistledown hair has plans of his own, and it will take all of your strength to stop him. Created by award-winning designers Marco Maggi and Francesco Nepatello, the lavishly illustrated game by Ian O'Toole takes players on an adventure through the world of Susanna Clarke's cult classic book. Have to admit, exact details about the game are pretty slim outside of the fact that it's for 2 to 4 players and it's coming in June of next year. Do want to mention there was a 4th image that was sent to me in the press release, and unfortunately it was really small. So even when I tried to blow it up a little bit, it got really fuzzy. And it did show like more of the contents of the game. So unfortunately, I'm not sharing it here. It does have an MSRP that's tentatively set for $50. Very interesting. I think this is going to be something that a lot of fans of the book are probably going to want to take a peek at, even non-gamers, because the book is great. You really, really have to check it out. And to be honest, that BBC adaptation that they did, or I should say adaptation that they did, was lights out too. Eddie Marsan was great. He was excellent in it. But then again, he's excellent in everything. All right, my next news piece. Early next year, Pandasaurus Games is going to be releasing a family-oriented tile-laying game. And I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Probably not. But I do have the dope on Ariel? Ariel? I don't know. Anyway, it is the name given to traditional Portuguese summer celebrations during which people take to the streets to eat, drink, and have fun in the old neighborhoods that are bedecked with arches, colorful balloons, popular music, and the aroma of sweet basil. In the game, players try to make their neighborhood traditional event the most popular by attracting visitors to their celebration. Grab the most beautiful decorations, hire the most inspired performers, serve the most traditional delicacies, and host the party of the year. Ariel is a fast-paced tile-laying game in which players take turns placing tiles in their neighborhood in Tetris-like patterns that fit perfectly with the previously placed tiles, trying to create a diverse party and compete to attract visitors to their neighborhood. The unique rotating central board means your position at the table will have an impact on gameplay. Ariel is for 1 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. It's going to play in about 15 minutes per player, and it is going to carry an MSRP of $44.95 when it arrives March 20th. Interesting. Sounds kind of cool. One thing that I do notice, and granted, I don't really know anything about the gameplay, but from what I can see, it looks as if the tile laying aspect is very, very reminiscent of Baron Park, which was from Mayfair Games. It came out about a year and a half ago. Also a little bit of, is it the third Uwe Rosenberg release that came out from Stronghold Games? This was a Gen Con release. I want to say, is it Spring Harvest? Something along those lines. But it's got that, both those titles had that same kind of Tetris tile laying mechanic to it. So I would hope there's more to this than just laying the tiles. But it does kind of sound like it because it says you're trying to entice visitors to your party. All right, how about some RPG news? Because the latest Bundles of Holding, that's a plural, have arrived, and there's a double dose of fantasy horror as 2 Shadow of the Demon Lord bundles have arrived. One is actually a repeat of, I want to say it's a bundle that came out in 2014, which is kind of an introduction to Shadow of the Demon Lord, so it's got the core book and a lot of stuff like that. I'm not going to talk about that one. I am going to talk about the Demon Lord Victims bundle. Here's the dope. Careful, adventurer. This Demon Lord Victims bundle of dark fantasy supplements for the Shadow of the Demon Lord tabletop role-playing game is a companion to our resurrected Shadow of the Demon Lord bundle. If you haven't already purchased that offer, either in its original May 2017 run, I guess it was May 2017, and its revival, now in progress, start there first. Then return here for this all-new second offer with recent supplements and source books from Schwalbe Entertainment that expand and explore the lands in Shadow. For just $9.95, you get all 9 titles in this offer's starter collection, retail value $38.50, as DRM-free PDF ebooks. There's Beyond the World's Edge, a travelogue of these strange places and stranger denizens beyond the map in the core Shadow rulebook. 5 Gazetteers in the Lands of Shadow series, Borderlands of Tears, Caracas? Taking a guess. Come on, it's fantasy role-playing games. Like, you're never going to pronounce some of these names. Anyway, it's the crumbling capital of the Empire of Rule, City of Death, Azul, northernmost city of the Confederacy, Kingdom of God, the Holy Kingdom, and a land divided, Old Edeni, or Edene. 3 victims of the Demon Lord race sourcebooks, For Golden Glory, Dwarves, Only Human, wonder who that could be talking about, and Uncommon Courage, Halflings. And if you pay more than this offer's threshold price of $18.95, you'll level up and also get this offer's entire bonus collection with 7 more titles worth an additional $42. There's a Demon Lord's Companion 2 and Forbidden Rules, new character options, combat rules, and interesting ways to reshape your campaign, Godless, a world in fire and blood, a complete alternate setting for Shadow of the Demon Lord, a post-apocalypse version of our own Earth where desperate survivors pick their way through the rubble of civilization and fight bloodthirsty warlords, degenerate mutants, rapacious biker gangs, horrid monsters, and of course, demons. Then there's 4 more Victims of the Demon Lord installments, Between Two Worlds, Fawns, Born to Kill, Orcs, Ghosts in Machines, Clockworks, and Stolen Lives, Changelings. You want to keep in mind 10% of each payment after the payment gateway fees for this Shadow of the Demon Lord bundle will be donated to the charity designated by Demon Lord designer Robert J. Schwalbe, and it happens to be the Wildlife Conservation Society. Pretty cool bundle of holdings doing a bunch of horror stuff this month, and I have to point out I am not overly familiar with Shadow of the Demon Lord. I do know it's super popular. I do understand that it's pretty grimdark, right? And I know some people refer to it as old school Renaissance. I don't know if it's old school Renaissance, to be honest with you. I can't tell you for certain. In fact, I think on tomorrow's show, I'm going to talk a little bit, because tomorrow's RPG Day. On tomorrow's show, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about, at least in my opinion, what is old school Renaissance and what is not old school Renaissance. And I think a lot of people out there look at like the rules of a system and say, oh, well, that's OSR, and well, that one's not OSR. And to me, in my opinion, it's not necessarily the rule system, it is the vibe of the game. I'll get into it tomorrow, but I do want to say this is a pretty cool bundle. You can get everything for less than $20, so that's pretty cool. And I have to say that that alternate setting sounds pretty cool. I would have to check that out. I have been looking at a bunch of different role-playing stuff recently, just kind of in my free time, and I'm really going to start kind of talking a little bit on Thursdays about just kit bashing stuff. Gosh, that was a weird burp. kit bashing stuff or kind of like modding stuff, hacking stuff, whatever you want to call it, to other systems. So, but really nice bundle. Plus the other Shadow of the Demon Lord bundle is pretty sweet too if you are not overly familiar with that system and if you need to get the core books. All right, also, Flying Pig Games. Where do I know those people from? Well, it's my next news piece because Flying Pig Games is now taking pre-orders for the Stalingrad expansion to Old School Tactical, and this would be Volume 1 of Old School Tactical, and I've got the dope. This version of the expansion will come with a nifty box, which you're seeing a photo of passing by. 2 additional scenarios. I almost said scenarios. It's like, geez, Jeff. I'm all tongue-tied. 2 additional scenarios. The original maps, counters, and scenarios from the original release. The new scenarios will also be made available for download soon, so those who purchase the original game will have access to them also. I'm going to take a guess it's probably those who downloaded the, because this is an expansion. I'm going to take a guess it's for those who already bought this expansion previously. Do want to point out, the first 25 pre-orders are going to get a $10 coupon that can be applied to an order for any in-stock Flying Pig Games item. It doesn't sound like it's $25 off of this expansion, so just so you know. Coupon will be sent via separate email within the next week. The most famous battle of the Eastern Front. Not a day goes by at the Flying Pig Games multiplex. Does Mark have a multiplex in Colorado? I don't know. That we don't receive an email, tweet, Snapchat, or carrier pigeon asking us to reprint the Stalingrad expansion for Old School Tactical Volume 1. Well, we found a way to fit it into our schedule, so we're doing it. The expansion for the 2-player game does carry a sale price right now of $40. So take advantage of that while you can. All right, and then my final news piece. Actually, not really a news piece. Just want to kind of point out, and I'm going to mention this every day until Halloween, through Halloween, I should say, that there is the big Halloween sale over at Drive-Thru RPG. I want to point that out. There are thousands and thousands of items right now, and I believe the discount is 33% and up. But the thing that happens every Halloween season is Drive-Thru RPG has their kind of like trick or treat, where if you go and you kind of search around the various different drive-thru websites, various pages there, you will find little icons that you click on to get freebies. Now, for an example, I'm showing one of those icons right now. It's the bat in front of the moon. There are some really cool free RPG PDFs right now that are available. For like one I was mentioning, I actually shared this on Twitter this morning. Kids on Bikes, the core book for Kids on Bikes, not the free RPG Day Quick Start, and not the deluxe edition, which is only available in a physical hardcover. But this is the standard edition, which I think is about 80 pages long, and it retails for like $10. You can get it absolutely free. There's also Sins of the Father, which was nominated for an Annie Award. It's from Eloy Lasanta over at Third Eye Games. It's a horror role-playing game. Once again, it's another like $10 PDF. Get that absolutely free. Then there's also the holiday bundle of 5e adventures. It's from Adventure of Week Games, who I have reviewed a few of the Adventure of Week Games bigger products that I thought were fantastic, so I can only assume this is pretty good as well. Once again, another like $10 PDF, absolutely free. There are about 30 items, maybe a little more than 30 items, throughout the various different drive-thru websites. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted earlier today saying, hey, if you want to grab a copy of Kids on Bikes, be sure to go to Drive-Thru RPG. And I said, I've got a list at the Gaming Gang with all the locations and each site that tells you, okay, where do you got to go? The links are right there. I have put the links into the email, or not the email, into the post, into the article. So I'll save you all time, right? You don't have to go searching around and click right on the link as long as you're signed in to your account and you can get these freebies. Well, somehow people misunderstood what I was talking about because, oh, whoops. Hang on. What the heck? Let's move that on out of here. There we go. That's better. Hey, that's what happens when I'm trying to put stuff together like about 5 minutes before I'm going live. Anyway, so I was going to say that people misunderstood, thinking that all they had to do was go to DriveThruRPG and then, of course, type in the search Kids on Bikes. And, of course, when they did that, it brought up the Kids on Bikes page, and it said $9.99. So people were hitting me up on Twitter saying, well, hey, that's a really great sale, but there's no free Kids on Bikes. And I had to point out, and I also, I responded to some people and then finally got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to respond to each individual who's shooting me this thing saying, hey, you lied. There's no free Kids on Bikes. And I pointed out, no, you have to actually go and click on the little icons to be able to get this stuff. So as an example, and it's right on the, I think it's titled How to Score the Free Halloween 2018 Goodies at Drive-Thru Sites or whatever. It's right on the front page of the Gaming Gang today. Anyway, if you go to the DriveThruRPG homepage, you'll even see that some of the icons are going to be hidden off a little bit to the left of the page, but I've got it right there where you can score Kids on Bikes. So if you want to take advantage of all the really cool PDFs that are available absolutely free, and this year is a stellar year for this, because a lot of times in the past it was like, oh, that's kind of cool, well, that's sort of cool, yeah, it's all right. It was a lot of stuff that was kind of old. Not to say it wasn't good, but I mean, it wasn't like brand new stuff or anything like that. This year, I mean, Kids on Bikes just came out. Kids on Bikes just came out. The PDF just came out on DriveThruRPG maybe a month ago. Sins of the Father, that's pretty new too. I mean, that was just up for an any. So by all means, go to thegaminggang.com, click on that article, and I will walk you right through and basically hold your hand through the different drive-thru websites so you can score all those freebies. So just don't go to the DriveThruRPG and type in Kids on Bikes. You are not going to get a free copy that way. All right, so I am going to be reviewing Burning Lands in just a few moments. Just want to kind of point out real quickly what's coming up the rest of the week and into next week. So I still have not finished reading Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition for me to do a review. So I'm going to do that next week. I know it kind of stinks because it'll actually be the day after Halloween, November 1st. Sorry. Don't know what to tell you. But I'm not done with that yet. But what I am going to do, it's been a while since I actually reviewed a module, right? Why do I say module? An adventure, right? Adventure path, scenario, whatever you want to call it. I'm so old school that RPG adventures, to me, the first thing that pops in my head is call it a module. Duh. Anyway, but there's one as a special. It's this year's Dungeon Crawl Classics release for the holiday. Because usually for the holidays they'll have an adventure like Christmas, Halloween. So I'm going to review the Halloween adventure, The Corpse That Love Built. Talk about an oddball name, right? So I'm going to do a review of that tomorrow, and kind of talk a little bit about maybe because if you don't play Dungeon Crawl Classics, I'll talk a little bit about how you can just kind of hack it for whatever system you want. So pretty easy. It's not that tough. Anyway, so I'm going to do that on tomorrow's show. On Friday's show, I thought I was going to have a copy of Axis and Allies and Zombies by Friday, which I just talked to my contact, and it hasn't gone out yet. So they're going to try to get it out to me so I have it by the end of this week, because we're actually supposed to feature that on our Extra Life live stream that we're going to do on November 3rd, and we're supposed to be able to give away a free copy of it to whoever has the largest donation. So That's something to keep in mind. Anyway, so doesn't look like I'll have it on Friday, so I am going to review Shifting Realms from Soaring Rhino. And for some reason, I do receive the Axis and Allies and Zombies. I'll just push this one day back. I'll do it on Monday. So I'm going to do that Monday. Tuesday, I am going to take a look at what's in the latest Ascension release. This is Delirium. And this is from Ultra Pro and Stoneblade Entertainment. So if you're an Ascension fan, we will take a look at that. I have not played Ascension in quite a while. I think maybe it was like the third release or so. That was the last time I played it. It's a cool game. I enjoy it. I mean, they got a lot of stuff that comes out for it. So that will be on Monday's show. Tuesday, I'm going to show off the retail version of Block by Block. This is the second edition. This successfully kickstarted. I did review it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I am going to show off what the retail version looks like because my version was a Kickstarter preview. So we've got that. And then, of course, I'm still waiting for November 9th. This is just my Betrayal Legacy is sitting here. I'm bouncing around. I think I might just do a review. I don't think I'm going to do an unboxing. So I think I'm going to review it on the 9th. We're going to get some games in of it because I would like to play it. So, and I think Cameron and the rest of the gang will get a kick out of it too. Even though I already know like what happens in the first two scenarios or the first scenario and the kind of prologue adventure that's in it. But yeah, I think I'll be doing that. So we'll see what pops up. Next on Wargame Wednesday, I have some GMT stuff that popped up. Much of it I've already reviewed in the past. So a lot of it is like the first wave of the coin series reprints. So there are some expansions that were in the box. I might bust something like that out. Do want to also mention while I'm talking about GMT on our live stream that we're going to do on November 3rd. And I hope some people will, tune in and watch Elliot Miller, my best friend, and I, and some other folks playing some different games. I believe Elliot and I are going to play a game of 1960, Making the President from GMT. And what we're trying to do, I know, see, I said I'm not going to ramble on about stuff, but I am rambling a little bit. But what we're going to do, what the game plan is we're doing 12 hours. We're not doing 24 hours, simply because some of the folks that are going to be taking part in the stream with us can't hang out for 24 hours. If it was Elliot and I guarantee we could pull off the 24 hours. And things would get pretty weird and punchy, I'll tell you that much. But we're going to do 12 hours, and we're doing 2-hour blocks. So we're dedicating 2-hour blocks to a particular game, and we're going to play that game for the 2 hours. So right now, we are doing Everdell, which is from Starling Games, which I think is awesome. Love it to death. Unfortunately, the giveaway for that block is not going to be Everdell because it's basically sold out. So Starling Games really doesn't have any copies to send out. But I do have a 3-pack of family games from their Happy Meeple imprint that we're going to give away. Then, as long as things work out correctly, we are going to play Axis and Allies and Zombies. And whoever is the largest donator during that block is going to get a free copy of that. They're going to get that sent to them. When we do the 1960 Making of a President, I am going to offer up one of the coin series. I might actually float this out there on Twitter for people to vote. But because I've already reviewed the coin games that I've done unboxings, everything else. And it's great. I love how GMT does this for me. They just send anything that they do, they send to me, regardless if I already have a copy or not. But my gain is your gain. So I will take one of those GMT coin games, and that will be something that we will give away to the highest donator during that block, during the 1960 block. So I'm working with some other folks too to try to do some stuff as well. Really want to try to get something going on with Mike Coe. Do a tiny epic game, maybe do a giveaway. But got to remember, a lot of these folks are over at Essen. They're in Germany right now. So anyway, but trying to make things some fun, to make things fun and not just do, oh, well, we're just streaming us playing and hey, how about donating to, which a great cause, right? I mean, the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals is a great cause. But I want to make it, a little more fun for people too. Kind of incent them to help out a great charity. Okay, so I babbled on long enough. I know a lot of people are tuning in because they want to check out my review of Burning Sands, the expansion. Burning Sands. Why do I keep saying Sands? It's Burning Lands. I just keep wanting, because it's the Middle East, I keep wanting to say Sands. It's Burning Lands, the expansion for Armageddon War from Flying Pig Games. It's designed by Greg Porter. The game is for 1 to 2 players, ages 12 and up. Still think it should be about 14 and up, in my opinion. Scenarios do play out in about 60 minutes or more. The MSRP of this expansion is $45. It does have a sale price of $35 right now. One thing I want to mention is the artwork on this box is a little bit different than the artwork on the actual box. And strangely enough, if you go to the Flying Pigs game website, have completely different artwork. So, strangely enough, this is where here, I'll show you. I mean, it's not a huge difference, but it is different. It is a little bit different as far as the artwork. So, and then when you go to the Flying Pig Games website and you see the expansion, it's got completely different artwork, and it looks as if it would be something from, almost from like Tiny Battle Publishing, or one of the add-ons that I'm going to share with you. But this is actually a big boxed item. Thus, the box, right? And it's a big box because we got a really big map. Once again, we got a really big board here, and it's all one piece. You are seeing at this moment a little bit less than half of this board. So what I'll do here, I'm going to move that out of the way. Let me kind of slide this over, because this is a map that's got a lot of difficult terrain in it. But as we can see, if you checked out my review for the core game, Armageddon War, we've got these activation phases. So we do have that activation phase track along the side of the board once again. So there we go. So we've got the expansion book here. So mainly what this is doing is it's including 2 new factions for us to play with in the Armageddon War system. So once again, the year is 2028. The world has pretty much gone down the toilet. A lot of fighting going on in the Middle East, because the Middle East is one of the few places that still has reserves of fossil fuels. So it's not a good situation, right? So that is the core story of the Armageddon War system. So Burning Lands, not Sands, Jeff, Burning Lands, brings us 2 new combatants. So we get the Jordanians and we get Hezbollah. I know, interesting, right? But you know what? To be honest, if you're not familiar with Armageddon War, if you're just kind of tuning in, here, I'll move the book a little bit so my mug's not blocking it off. You're looking at ISIL is one of the combatants. We've got ISIL, we got Syrians, we've got Russians, Israelis, as well as the United States. But the Russians and the U.S. kind of play back seat to the other forces. So Here we've got the forces of Jordan as well as Hezbollah. As I mentioned, this map that we've got has a lot of very difficult terrain. And one aspect of this is that in the scenarios, you're going to find armor is going to have to really utilize the roads that are on this map. So as far as attacking the armor, that kind of gives you a heads up on what they might be doing. So it talks about the two different combatants. We've got the map. Talking about new units. We'll take a look at the units in just a second. Then we've got relief and force. We've got 6 new scenarios. So we've got relief and force. We've got westward ho. Reach out and touch someone. I have to say, I always get a kick out of the scenario names with a lot of the Flying Pig Games releases. And I have a feeling that it's Mark H. Walker who's coming up with the titles on a lot of these. We've got Border War. Nothing beats a quiet evening at home. And then at all costs. So as we can see, for the most part, you're looking at Jordan and Hezbollah. There are Israeli forces. There are some Russian forces as well in here. So pretty interesting scenarios that are included in this. So definitely dig it. Something that you should keep in mind, though, is, once again, and I am going to talk about solitaire played with Armageddon War. I'm going to pop my reading specs on. But one thing that you want to keep in mind is that there is a solitaire setup as far as an add-on that you can get from Flying Pig Games. I will talk about that in just a few minutes, but it is not something that you're going to be able to use for every scenario. So I do want to point that out. But pretty good mix of scenarios, pretty interesting stuff. Kind of give you an example. The first scenario here, Relief and Force, March 29, 2028. A Jordanian relief convoy was on its way to a village near Borma that had been the target of Hezbollah rocket attacks. Because it had no strategic significance to make it worth attacking, Jordan provided an armed escort, as past actions of this type have been used to abduct international relief workers and hold them for ransom. A little bit different, right? Kind of interesting here. So it talks about the Hezbollah setup, Jordanians. So good selection of scenarios here. Interesting stuff. Interesting scenarios for you to play. Not the same old. And then, once again, on the back, we've got the terrain and combat reference. Just another copy of this. Make it, I think, if I remember right, I think there's 2 copies of this already in the core Armageddon War rulebook. So there are no dice, or there is a counter sheet. There is an additional counter sheet. Well, we've got new units. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit, kind of show some of these off a little bit. Let's kind of get them closer. So, kind of, there we go. All right, so we've got the brown is Jordanian, the green is Hezbollah, which little surprised they went with green because the U.S. is green in Armageddon War. It's a little bit of a different shade, but well, most people are going to end up taking their counters and bagging them anyway by faction or by group for activations anyway. So we do have some armor for the Jordanians. We've got some recon infantry, some militia. We've got some different infantry fighting vehicles. We've got some air units. We actually have a helicopter unit, the 10th Squadron. Now, when I did my review of Armageddon War, stupid me was talking about how, oh yeah, it's individual vehicles. It is not individual vehicles. It is platoons of vehicles. I did mention it was platoons of troops, like a dummy. For some reason, I was thinking they were individual vehicles, but they are not. Of course, and then we've got the counter, the chit for the activation. There's a few of these. So there are a few different units It's not, this isn't just the entire counter sheet, right? But once again, we've got the infantry, and that shows their attack against other infantry. That's their range 1 hex. And of course, the red shield here is showing that they're infantry with an armor 1. We've got the armor unit showing the yellow 5, which indicates that its main armament is designed to take on other armor, because that's what this yellow shield here is, or gold. I believe they say it's gold in the rule book. And then, of course, that is their armor. And because it is not a black number, but because it's the same color, means it's improved armor. So, and of course, we've got the little lightning bolts to tell us the quality of not only the equipment but the troops as well. Kind of like a technology level almost. But it's not just technology. It's also how well maintained the equipment is, how well trained the infantry is, or the crews are, things like that. So once again, with Hezbollah, we've got some interesting units for Hezbollah, because you had a lot of just thrown together equipment. You might have Russian weapon systems on top of U.S. chassis and things like that. Hezbollah at this point is kind of, well, I guess it's kind of the point now too, kind of an army without a country. So got a variety of different units. So pretty cool. Really like the fact that, once again, we've got a couple of combatants that you would not normally be expecting to see in most war games, right? I mean, you know, think about it. In Armageddon War, we've got ISIL. Once again, I do want to point out, some people it's a big deal with. Other people probably it doesn't really matter that much. They figure, you know, it's just a game. But you have to keep in mind, in a 2-player game, if you're playing Burning Lands, somebody is playing Hezbollah. So just floating that out there, just so you know. So I definitely dig Burning Lands. It's got an MSRP normally of $45. It's available right now for $35. If you have Armageddon War, I would definitely recommend picking this up, because it does have some cool new scenarios. It's got new units. I would definitely recommend for the new units, and it's available on sale now. If you don't have Armageddon War, I would definitely recommend you check out my review. I really liked it. I gave it a 9.1 out of 10, and it is still available for $20 off its MSRP. So it's available for $80, and it is jam-packed. There's tons of counters. Really, really cool map. Just like this map's very cool too. I really, you know, you would think, okay, well, it's Middle East, you know, talking desert. No, not really. This is the mountainous area of Jordan that's being represented on this map here. So pretty sweet. Anyway, yeah, I would definitely recommend picking up Burning Lands. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely give Burning Lands I'd say an 8.5. It's not critical for you to pick it up, but then again, none of these items that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be like super crucial if you've got Armageddon War. But this makes a really nice add-on. I love the additional units, and I like the new map as well. And of course, you know, there's nothing stopping you from creating your own scenarios. So there are a few different items. I'm going to try to back this out a little bit more, that are available for Armageddon War. And I want to kind of talk about those as well today, because it doesn't make sense for me to do an individual review for like a little book or things like that. So first thing we have is the 600. It's a campaign for Armageddon War. Here's the weird thing. I do not believe that this is available for you to purchase. I think this was a Kickstarter stretch goal, an add-on through Kickstarter. I have looked on Wargame Vault to see if any of these items that I'm going to be talking about here are available in PDF, so you can print them, you know, print and play yourself. It is not. The 600 is not. So I do believe that this is an exclusive that was on Kickstarter. It's probably going to be something that'll be available at some point in the future, is my stab in the dark, because I know for like 65, the Vietnam game that Flying Pig did, same kind of thing. There were a bunch of extras from Kickstarter, and they weren't available for sale right away, every single one of them. But anyway, we'll take a peek through this. So this is a persistent campaign. So you're actually going to be leading U.S. troops in this. So that was pretty interesting because for the most part, the U.S. kind of takes a back seat in a lot of Armageddon War as well as Burning Lands. So this is pretty nice. And because it's a persistent campaign, there are situations where after your scenario, you can refit. There's one where it's like, oh, okay, so if you lose the scenario, you're going to play this next scenario. So there is carryover to these, the campaign from one battle to the next. And we'll see we've got special scenario rules, victory conditions. See, for an example here, scenario 2, American defeat. Proceed to scenario 4. Now we got scenario 4, new enemy. Scenario 5. We got scenario 6. And once again, we've got the reference on the back, which is kind of cool. I mean, they're trying to give you all these references. So this is the same thing as you find in Armageddon War. So it's kind of cool that this is included in both the expansion Burning Lands as well as the 600, because then you don't have to break all the stuff out from the core game. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now, there are no new units. All these units that are in the campaign are from Armageddon War. So those counters, everything, are already in Armageddon War. Honestly, I wish this was available for sale, even if it was just available as a PDF that you could download from Wargame Vault, because it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. Next, we've got the Armageddon War Strategy Guide. This is from Greg Porter. It is pretty short. So we're looking at a grand total. It's 16 pages. A lot of good information, though. I have to point out, a lot of good information, especially for someone who is not extremely well versed in war games. I mean, I was reading through this and I was like, oh. Because I'm the first to admit I am not necessarily all that up on like modern weapon systems and things like that. So really enjoy this. Talks about some of the different units, the different factions, taking advantage of certain rules, talking about how in situations where it's better for you to combine your fire into one roll on the custom dice, custom hit dice, and other times where it's like, no, you don't want to combine your fire. You want to roll individual rolls for your weapons. Usually it's armor. So talking about that, talking about close combat, talking about the different terrain that's on the map. Now, of course, keep in mind that is for Armageddon War. Talking about, we had some info about the U.S., we got the Russians, talking about some classic tactics, limits of the system, tips and tricks. Thought this was pretty interesting. And then, once again, talking about Israel, talking about ISIL, different support weapons. So, a lot of great information in this. Now, it's all packed into 16 pages. Okay, so here's the rub. And I am sure Mark over at Flying Pig Games is probably not going to be too happy that I say this, but it's $25. To me, that's kind of ridiculous. $25 for 16 pages? That is... I can't recommend picking this up for $25. If this was available, and this is what I'm hoping we'll see, if this were available in PDF from, say, Wargame Vault, or even if Flying Pig Games just sold a PDF themselves, I know they got the digital files anyway, and they made it for like, $9.99 or less. Yeah, I would definitely say, yeah, definitely check this out. I would think in PDF, a fair price is probably like $4.99, to be very honest, because it's 16 pages. But it's got a lot of useful information in it. But at a $25 price tag, I certainly can't recommend picking it up. And I do apologize to Mark H. Walker and Greg Porter. As interesting as this is and as useful as the information is, it's just not. I look at it this way. For $25, I can go to Flying Pig Games' sister site, Tiny Battle Publishing, and get an entire game for $25, as opposed to just the strategy guide here. So, got to mention that. All right, then we've also got Alone in the Desert, which a lot of people who are picking up Armageddon War and also Burning Lands are going to be like, oh yeah, I have got to get my hands on Alone in the Desert because it is a solitary expansion for Armageddon War. So the caveat that I've thrown out there, both with Burning Lands as well as with Armageddon War, is if you're playing two players, somebody's going to have to play a combatant that's not very savory, right? And I talked about this in my Armageddon War review. For years, playing Wargames, I always had to play the Germans. Regardless if it was World War I, World War II, we mainly played more World War II than World War I, outside of naval stuff with Fletcher Pratt's. So I always had to play the Germans, which I was not all that thrilled that I had always played the Germans, but no one else was going to play the Germans, so I figured, well, if we're going to play, I guess I got to play the Germans. But I could also sit there and say, okay, well, everybody who was in the Wehrmacht was not a Nazi, right? This situation here, ISIL, Hezbollah, they're all pretty much scumbags. Granted, Hezbollah has their point, right? What they're fighting for, but still, they're terrorists. I mean, they're essentially terrorists. So, with the solitary expansion, a lot of people are going to be sitting there going, "Oh, sweet! So I can play this, and I don't have to be ISIL. I don't have to be Hezbollah. I can actually, focus on the more savory combatants." So, we'll kind of take a look through this. And I will kind of point some items out. Now, first off, we're going to get more counters. So we're actually going to get some counters that are specifically aimed at this expansion. So we've got defensive, we've got cautious, we've got aggressive. So these are counters. You're going to mark your enemy combatants, right? Your AI factions with these, because you've got a deck of cards that you're going to draw from quite often. So you're actually going to draw from these cards when the enemy activates their elements, when you move next to, when you're adjacent to one of their units, when you fire on one of their units, see if they engage in counterfire. So we take a look here, and it's going to tell you, okay, so what does armor do? What does infantry do? And we're looking at the counterfire. So anything that's yellow is basically armor. They're talking about armor. If it's red, they're talking about infantry. If it's gray, then it's basically either or. So these cards are actually pretty cool. They are pretty cool. So you're going to find out, okay, so what is this? What's the stance of these units? Are they aggressive, cautious, and what will they be doing? So, for an example, here we've got armor aggressive, move 2 and fire, cautious, move objective 2, cover 3, because we have objective counters as well that we're going to utilize. Opportunity fire. That's the other thing I forgot to mention on the card. Opportunity fire, and then we've got the counter fire. So you're going to actually, there's not a ton of cards in this deck, but so you're going to actually end up kind of reshuffling these quite a bit during your game. But it does give you the opportunity to play quite a few of the scenarios solitaire. We got the rules here, talking about the rules. We got new scenarios, too. So here it's showing the different stances, right? So we got aggressive. Talking about the op fighter. So it's walking you through how you're going to actually utilize this deck. There's an example of play. And then we'll get some new scenarios. Now, the new faction, the new combatants that we get are more rebels. So we get a new unit, a bunch of new rebels, as well as their activation. So we get a bunch of these counters as well. And then we've got the different scenarios. So we got 6 more scenarios for you to play. And these are all 6 are solitaire scenarios. So they are all designed to be played solitaire. Now, here's one problem, though, with this expansion. This expansion does not make every scenario from Armageddon War suitable to play solitaire. And it even tells you that you're going to find various degrees of success using this with the scenarios that are in Armageddon War. Now, they're talking about, okay, scenario 1, 2, 3. So even here it says, you can use the solo rules with the main game scenarios with varying degrees of success. Here are a few of them as a guideline for setting up your own. In general, decide what the least amount of subtlety needed should be the AI, right? So if you're not very subtle, you're going to be the AI controlled units. So unfortunately, this expansion does not break down, hey, here's how you can play each of the scenarios in Armageddon War solitaire. That's kind of a bummer. And I'm sure a lot of people will be looking at, oh, Alone in the Desert, sweet. So I can play the scenarios in Armageddon War solo. Yeah, but like it says, with varying degrees of success, and you have to kind of hack them yourself. So it's good. This is good. I like this solitaire scenarios. Those are pretty cool too. And I like the fact that we've got a new faction as well. But this carries an MSRP of $45. So you're basically looking for the $45. You're getting this booklet, the deck of cards, and a sheet of counters for $45. Burning Lands also has $45, and you get a bunch of scenarios, you get a map, you get 2 new factions for you to utilize. Now, I do want to point out that Alone in the Desert is on sale right now for $35. But then again, so is Burning Lands. So I have to say, at $35, this kind of falls into the category as Armageddon War's strategy guide. It's good. I like it, but it's way overpriced. $35, I can go get myself a whole game. And yes, I do understand this is a niche hobby. I get it. This is a niche of a niche of a niche. So I understand that, especially with Wargames, we need to expect to pay a little bit more because, of course, Flying Pig Games is not going to be selling 20,000 copies of Armageddon War. But the problem that I see, and this is just, off the top of my head, both with the strategy guide and Alone in the Desert, if people order these from the Flying Pig Games website and they receive them, I think they're going to be very disappointed. Especially with the strategy guide at $25. They're probably thinking, okay, well, I'm getting a much bigger book than 16 pages, right? All this said, it's not like any of this stuff is bad. I like it. I just don't think it's priced appropriately. This is what I would like to see. This is really what I would love to see. I would love to see the 600, the strategy guide, as well as Alone in the Desert, be made available as PDF downloads on Wargame Vault or directly from Flying Pig Games. I think in the long run, it would actually help improve the popularity of Armageddon War, which is excellent. Like I said, Burning Lands is really good expansion for it. I think doing that, you're going to create a lot more goodwill for the system, and I think the system will grow. As it is, there really isn't a whole lot of incentive to pay all that extra for these additional releases. Plus, the 600 isn't even available to purchase as far as I can find out. None of these are in PDF on Wargame Vault or on the Flying Pig Games website. So there you have it. As I said, I really like the releases. I like Burning Lands. I think it's cool. I like the new factions. I think the scenarios are very cool. And I think, honestly, for $35 on sale right now, I believe it's worth it. Maybe it's a little touch high, but that's fine. $35, it's fine. But when we start looking into the Alone in the Desert expansion with a sheet of counters, a small deck of cards, it's not even a full 52-card deck, plus a rule book with 6 new scenarios for the same price as this. Let's turn it right way, Jeff. There we go. Same price as this. I don't see it. And then the $25 for the strategy guide, which is 16 pages. I don't see that at all. I cannot recommend those at those price points. So, but they are good. That's a weird thing. That's what leaves me, up in the air. They're good. Just don't think they're worth what, I don't think they have the value of the MSRP or even the sale prices that are assigned to them. But Burning Lands overall, I do give an 8.5 out of 10. All right, so that is it for this Wargame Wednesday. As I mentioned, pop in tomorrow if you're a role-playing game fan, of course, as I will be reviewing The Corpse That Love Built, the special Halloween 2018 scenario for Dungeon Crawl Classics. Anywho, as I always like to tell you, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow. I am off to go celebrate my birthday in some pretty boring ways today. I'm going out Friday with Elliot, my best friend. Hoping we're going to do some gaming too. But anyway, so I'm going to get on with my birthday. And as always, thank you very much for watching.